Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? Shout out to everybody. Spooky Fox said, I wish the like button was more accessible. Please do me a favor, you guys. Make sure you're hitting the like button. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's also like the interaction button in the bottom where you chat, where you can like hit some hearts, do some different things and whatnot. Do that for me. Bring some interaction to this chat, please and thank you. Welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me say hello to all the beautiful people. I know I pushed the time back, but you already know I'm on baby bunny's time. I'm not on my time, okay? Whatever she says, it goes and it goes. This is how it is. All right, don't look back. Thank you for being here. Pika, Chico, Nebulous, SW. Who else? Sarah Lynn. Thank you. Blonde Bomb. Who else? Cinnabunny, thank you for being here. Who else? Who else? Who else? Shout out to everybody. Thank you for hitting that like button. Chico, Kimmy, thank you for being here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Arctic Ginger says, I will be watching, but not chatting. Need to keep my promise to myself and do the treadmill. Can y'all drop some hearts in the chat for Arctic? Arctic, you do not need to engage in the chat. As long as you hit the like button, you keep running in that treadmill. Okay, love? Shout out to you. And anybody else doing New Year's resolutions, shout out to you. Leah, thank you for being here. Layla, I see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Baby Shay, how you doing, love? Shauna B, thank you for being here. Aw, thank you, Jenny. Shout out to you, Jenny. Bo, I see you. Lisa, Spooky Fox, Bella, Sweet Jules, everybody, thank you for being here. Who else do I see members? All my beautiful members. Princess Sassy Pants, thank you for being here. ADAS, thank you, thank you, thank you. Kimmy, thank you for being here. Ontario, Canada. Shout out to all the Canadians. Shout out to everybody from all the different parts of the world. Thank you for being here. Kimmy, oh, ADAS, I see everybody. Hey, Calamity, how you doing, love? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is it Trisha? Trisha? Shout out to you. Awesome. Shout out to you. Who else? Who else? Tiki. I see Vic. Shout out to Vic. Vic is in the chat. Thank you for being here. Yeah, that's right. You get it, Arctic. Shout out to Arctic. Don't stop, Arctic. Keep going. Keep going, okay? All right, Clarice, welcome. Thank you for being here. Is it I always mess up your name. Senrisa? Senrisa? Let me know if I said it correctly. T. Marie, thank you for being here. Bella's been a member for 5 months. That's awesome, man. G12, welcome. Shout out to you. Let's see. Shout out to everybody I see. You say you're having Florida coffee with Bailey's is my night. Ooh, Bailey's sounds really good right now. Let me just say that. Bunny Advocate, thank you for being here. All right. I watch all on this sub. Hey Ness, how you doing, love? Shout out to you. Okay, did y'all vote in the little poll? We got 129 people here. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. Y'all can be somewhere else, but you're here, and we're about to get into it, okay? So, all right, let me just say this. We are about to get into this Gypsy Rose Confessions, okay? The prison confessions. Y'all have been messaging me about it. You've said, Rabbit, you got to do the review for like as soon as I did the Natalia Grace, y'all said, Rabbit, you got to do the Gypsy Rose. I said, all right, because I've already watched a lot of Gypsy Rose stuff. What is it? Mommy Dead and Dearest from HBO is one of my faves personally. As far as the breakdown of it, but really this one was kind of like piggybacking from Mommy Dead and Dearest, I think. At least a little bit. Hey BJ, you guys drop some hearts for BJ. Make sure if I can get a mod to drop BJ's link in the chat. Yes, everybody. Thank you for being here. Tinkletit says, I'm good just hearing talking about it. Not gonna watch it. You're not gonna watch it? All right. Well, listen, I'm gonna give you some spoilers. Okay. So I'm gonna review it. Spoiler alert all the way right away, just so you guys know everything. Let's just start and I'll give you guys a little bit of 6 episodes, just my thoughts, a couple notes that I took. Um, Did I learn anything that I didn't know before about the Gypsy Rose case? Just kind of just a conversation about it, right? So if you are interested in watching it, the Gypsy Rose Prison Confessions, you can find it. I purchased it on YouTube, but it's everywhere. It's on Hulu. It's everywhere. And so right now it's like the hot topic that everybody's talking about, wanting to review, which is great. There's a lot of other series. Gypsy Rose book came out. I think it was like on the 7th or the 9th. I think it was the 7th that it came out on Amazon, the one that she wrote. And I was thinking about doing a review, but I'm gonna tell you guys something. I'm kind of like Gypsy Road. Like I've had enough of Gypsy Rose for now. For now, it's just like it's a lot of reviewing of it. So let's start. Let me pull my notes because I got some notes. All right. So the first episode, which basically kind of lets us know right off the bat that this is like the eve of her parole board meeting. She's about to meet with the parole board. There's a lot happening for Gypsy. She's fairly, I think, she's nervous about not being able to get parole and potentially having to wait more time for it. But she kind of starts at the eve of that, right? From there, we get a lot of interviews from family members, from the professionals. One of the things that was immediately let loose on the first episode is the fact that she is alleging that she was molested by her grandfather from her mother's side. So she gets into detail about that, and it's interesting because while they're doing the episode 1, and sexually molested, okay, or sexually molested, really, I'm going to use that word. Um, they start interviewing family members, right? These producers are interviewing all these family members, and then that information comes about. And the grandfather is actually giving interviews on the first episode about how, Gypsy was and the concerns that they had with Dee Dee, right? Immediately, family, my first impression of just listening to the family a little bit was that they had a lot of concerns about Dee Dee, right? Dee Dee being a certain way with family. They gave they portrayed this picture of Dee Dee, which I kind of in the first episode was like, well, I get it. Like, maybe she wasn't the best person, you know, but I was kind of hoping to hear at least a little bit of some qualities that would have been okay about her, right? something, but nobody could really, other than just being Gypsy Rose mom. Yeah, it just seemed like everybody had something within the family to say about Dee Dee, right? Um, Potentially scamming, potentially, the scamming part for sure. How she got pregnant, um, Gypsy Rose dad Rod, their relationship, and how truly you kind of have to wonder as well is how much of that was coming from, like, how much of this also happened to Dee Dee? That's really what I was hoping, that some of this would have, at least at the very first episode, that we would have found out a little bit more about kind of Dee Dee's background and everything, because we all kind of know, like, this person who did these horrific things to Gypsy Rose, right? Completely horrific. Generational trauma. It's a great way to put it, Cheeks. But I was kind of I wanted to know a little bit more about Dee Dee as far as, like, who she was as a person and everything. I just that I felt like that kind of lacked. That's see, and that's what I want to know. Like, we got when Gypsy talked about the sexual abuse, and I'm going to say alleged because I don't know what's been investigated, but this is what Gypsy told everybody, right? I had to kind of wonder, well, how much of this was, like, from generation? Did this happen to Dee Dee? Because there were no charges filed. It was kind of kept in the family. Um, they kind of told Gypsy, you don't want to see Grandpa go to jail, that type of deal. And it was really, really awkward, even in the interview, because when the people that were interviewing the grandfather, just the way that he acted was just like, yeah, I just, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, it didn't. It didn't happen. G12 says, unfortunately, Gypsy has the same illnesses as her mom. As when this attention she's getting dies out, I fear that she will do something major. I see her in jail again. You think so, G12? So, I would agree with you on that. And she was let me just say this, based on what the family was painting her out to be, yeah, she's a horrible, person, right? She did what she did to her daughter was horrible, horrific. Um, and she didn't protect her daughter. Actually, nobody protected Gypsy at a very young age. I was very much appalled by I also wanted to know more about Gypsy's dad, just a little bit more. And as I'm hearing him talk about the kind of parent that he was and how absent that he was, and, you know, well, I just felt like Dee Dee was doing a great job. So I just kind of let her do her thing. Nothing, not a big deal. She was doing a great job. Like, there was no other red flags that he might have had. To me, that said a lot about how he felt, how invested he truly was in his daughter, and he wasn't. And it could have been because he was a young dad at the time. That I think Rod is younger than Dee Dee, if I remember correctly on the ages. But yeah, I personally felt like everybody failed her, right? But specifically the parents and everybody else, nobody really protected her. Her dad would have. You think so, Princess? I don't know. I don't think. And maybe that could have been because Dee Dee was right in the middle of it, everything, trying to gatekeep who and what contact happens with the daughter, what is said to her very well. But to me, it's like, even when there was this one scene, and this was further down in the episodes, where Rod talks about the fact that he called Dee Dee to tell Gypsy happy birthday because she had turned 18. And Dee Dee tells Rod, "Well, don't say that to her. Don't, she doesn't know she's 18. Don't say that to her." 18 is a pretty big deal, right? Like, you're 18. That's a pretty big deal for your dad to call you and tell you happy birthday, right? And that's the part that I just didn't understand, that piece. That wasn't a red flag. He already didn't have the most visible relationship with the daughter, right? Because Dee Dee was doing such a good job in his opinion. To me, Rod seemed, in my opinion, just by observation, it seemed to me that Rod was more concerned about doing his thing, his work schedule, his work, his stuff that he had to do, which is, I get it. It sounds like he's the sole provider of his whole family, but he also got married, right? And he also had a new family too. So it made me wonder, yeah, like where were you at? So I do kind of have to side eye him a little bit in that sense, because I did feel like he was a little absent, in my opinion. I heard. Let me see what y'all are saying in the comments. Dang, I was just about to ask that. That's the $1 million question. I think that was probably the one person that really kind of got to me was the dad, because he was so absent. Now, I do personally feel like that might have been because of Dee Dee, but I personally think that he was more invested into his new relationship, in my opinion, his new job, his new life, and then he also had a new child and new family. So he probably, I don't know what value he found in trying to connect with Gypsy if Gypsy's already quote unquote being taken care of, you know? I read that her family suspects Dee Dee of starving her own mother and poisoning her stepmother with Roundup. See, and that was also covered in that episode. So I think that when Dee Dee's mother died, okay, it sounded like she held a lot of resentment towards her father, right? About remarrying. And so there was another woman, the stepmother, and essentially it was said that she might have been poisoning the stepmother with Roundup. I mean, the stepmother's dead, right? So God only knows if that actually happened. But they didn't really think, like, even her own family didn't think very much of Dee Dee. And it sounded like they painted her as being this vindictive woman that was, if you got on her bad side, she was going to get you one way or another, right? One way or another. She came straight out, attention, attention, attention. TV books, Kim Kardashian, she's doing a lot. Oh, G12, we're gonna get to that, I promise you. Um, he didn't know the extent of what Gypsy's mom was doing. You're talking about dad, very well so. And this is why I say her father and her family as a whole failed Gypsy. The medical community failed Gypsy. Everybody had a hand in failing that girl at a very young age. So to me, she is a victim of factitious disorder, which is Munchausen by proxy. She is a victim of her mother, and she's also a victim of these institutions that a lot of us pay a lot of money to, that are meant to protect children. Everybody failed her, including the doctors, and that was a little too much when I saw that part. But let me just make sure I get to my notes. So we find out about the essay with the grandfather. A lot of us felt, at least for me, I felt like that was probably having that trauma and having it been not addressed. And then Gypsy did tell her mother eventually, right? She did say something to her mother, but it sounded like, and like they got out of the house that they were living at. And I wasn't really sure about timeline. Did Dee Dee hear about the abuse before or after she decided to leave with Gypsy? I thought that was an important part to point out because it sounded like she was living in the house and she was cooking all the food for the stepmother, and there was concerns, and then they basically told her that she could leave. So did she find out about the sex abuse, the essay with the grandfather, before or after? And if that is the case, um, there was a failure to report there as well, right? Nobody said anything. They kept it in the family, which doesn't really surprise me, believe it or not. Just saying. Just saying. I think they're still taking advantage. Any money she makes, I fear she will be scammed out of it. Ooh, Lord. Also, her mother isolated her to have control. Yup, yup, yup. It was said in the show that after Katrina, he had to track them down. Dee Dee just disappeared. That is right. That is right. The grandpa said, shout out to Nicole Taylor. The grandpa said Gypsy was the one touching him. That shit right there. Oh my God. So then thank you for reminding me. The people that are doing the interview with the grandfather confronted him. Well, he denies that initially it was like, well, you know, she wanted to touch me. I didn't, it didn't happen like that. She wanted to touch me. Then they brought that over to Gypsy, who's being interviewed in a, cell or whatever. And Gypsy says something to the effect of, I will go to my grave, I will never visit him, and it'll be just what it is. Like she has severed, sounds like has severed that relationship at the very least, right? But she's got some maternal family members that are advocating for her. I did find that to be just so disturbing, right? That he said, well, she was the one touching me. She was the one that, it was kind of like that same narrative of she was the one that wanted it, kind of like that. That was really disturbing, really disturbing. And y'all, I mean, if any SA story triggers you, warning sign on that one. Okay, just a heads up on that. That's very disturbing. And nobody like found that to be concerning. Victim blaming, but not even Christy, not even victim blaming. It was more along the lines of uh like a switch to where you like it was just weird. He just switched it. Kind of makes you wonder if he's got any other victims out in the family that we don't even know about. Hmm, just wondering. It's a family of secrets. Family secrets. Hmm. Uh-huh. Yes. And sad, the family members admitted to knowing and didn't report it. They did. So note that. Note that. Dee Dee's dad. Yes. Note that. The biggest trigger warning right there. You'll learn first episode, and then they turn it around. It was just disgusting. It was gross. Um, on the second episode, I kind of want to jump right away because we've been spending a lot of time on the first. The way it starts is very concerning. And I'm reading your comments. Second episode, um, was really when we get into the doctors and the pediatricians and understanding how they piece together the puzzle of, finding out the different diagnoses that Gypsy has, and not necessarily having record, Katrina happening, them losing contact, this weird shift of like now it's Gypsy telling her side of the story about these professionals, and then it's these doctors and professionals. Like her pediatrician was interviewed, and a couple other doctors were interviewed as well. It was weird because in that part there was a pediatrician who got up there, not a pediatrician. It was I think it was like a neurologist or something. I can't remember his name, but he said something to the effect of, you know, um, there was suspicion of child abuse, but you can't report child abuse on suspicion. And I swear that that shit made me drop my phone. Like, I was like, hold up, Linda. It dropped. It dropped. I had to repeat that again because he literally said, I don't think you can report suspicion of child abuse. You can't make those kind of reports. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you. It is his job. The laws of like mandatory reporting, especially for professionals, haven't changed. Like they have been, I think that specific law, okay, that has been in there for at least a good 20 plus years now. If I could be wrong on the time, and I also don't know the state, right? I think it's Louisiana, no, Missouri, one of the states, right? But I'm pretty sure to have a doctor sit there. Let me tell you, said he said, can't report suspicion of abuse. You can only report things that are founded. That's literally what this doctor professional said in the video. And I said, you have got to be shitting me. And why the hell didn't these interviewers push that shit? Okay. And it goes back to this. Why I think that question is important. It's very simple. Okay. We need to start holding these professionals accountable for the shit that they do and they don't do. Okay? All right? This certainly make the salary for it. We need to start holding these professionals accountable. All right? Mandatory mandated laws are there for a reason. Okay? To stop shit like this. The doctor said, I don't you can't report for suspicion of abuse. There has to be abuse. No, sir. No, sir. No. You let CPS investigate that. You report your suspicion. That's what mandatory reporters do. And I'm pretty sure those laws have been there for many, many years. Yes. Yeah, I know. Yo, I'm telling you, I almost like dropped my phone when I heard that. I said, no. Oh, no, 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 no. And so then it became, it's interesting. When it got to that episode 2, it literally became Gypsy Rose saying one thing and the doctor's saying another thing, right? And so then she's saying, how do you know that they're not trying to cover their asses at this moment, right? When they're talking about the whole doctor thing, because at some point, one of the doctors had called CPS when he had suspicion about what Dee Dee was doing. When the referral came to professional, the other professional who said, well, you can't report on suspicion, clearly you could because the doctor that was the pediatrician had the suspicion and he reported it and they investigated. Gypsy Rose gives an account of the fact that, these CPS investigators came into the house and she got really scared. They separated them in the room. And this is what Gypsy's saying. She said that the CPS workers were cursing at Dee Dee at the time. So she got scared and said she loves her mom and everything is fine. And so she shut down. They're investigating Dee Dee on these claims of by back then it was Munchausen by proxy before it became factitious disorder. So they're asking and investigating all these claims that the doctor filed the report. It was sufficient enough for CPS to go investigate, right? They separate them. And so I personally felt like, well, how adequate, and I know that the CPS system has come long, long ways, but if it was just one doctor report, what else did they have to see, CPS, to make sure that they were able to actually take action towards their concerns, the doctor's concerns? That it was just a weird kind of like Gypsy saying, they're cursing at my mom, these CPS workers. It was a weird dynamic that happened there. And so, all in all, the doctor basically had an, you know, uh, kind of excused and apologized for whatever failure he might have played in making sure that that something was done about Gypsy Rose. Gypsy at this point feels like that didn't happen. She's discrediting the doctor, the pediatrician specifically, and is saying, how do you know that he's just not trying to cover his ass at this point? Which I would have to agree, because if you start with the second episode of some other doctor saying that you don't have to report on suspicion, then yeah, I got some problems about any of these doctors that want to defend themselves at this point. Because yeah, everybody should have been calling a referral at that point, right? Everybody. Just my thought. Says, I believe her mom did what she did. I also believe Gypsy fell in the cracks. But is everyone believing everything that comes out of her mouth? Because I don't. G12, you are not the only one that has said that. You are not the only one that has said that. Gypsy apparently bought a phone at Walmart while Dee Dee was in the bathroom. Can you imagine being the employee that sold her that phone? Well, Rat, between that phone and then, I mean, she also stole the knife at Walmart that essentially killed Dee Dee. So keep that in mind. That's right. You tell them. You can't even type, girl. I'm just telling you. That part bothered me so bad. I literally screamed at TV. Reporting suspicion is literally all you can do. You let them CPS workers investigate the suspicion. You just report. That's all. That's all. Am I correct that her grandfather said, "I don't want her remains coming here"? I was that the grandfather who said that, or was that somebody else? I can't remember. Ooh, look at you guys. Lord have mercy. All right, let me keep going. So that was that. I mentioned about the dad, Rod. I personally, all right, I'm gonna be very honest with you guys about something because I wrote it in my notes and I said I would talk about it, and y'all going to drag me in the comments for it, but I'm okay with that. When, all right, so he falls for Dee Dee saying, "Don't tell her she's 18," right? Calls her to say happy birthday, but don't tell her she's 18. He's kind of a absent father to a certain degree, right? There was the episode where because all of this is happening in the eve of Gypsy's parole. Her father can't make the appointment. Her father can't make the parole board meeting. That shit really did bother me. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That really bothered me that he didn't make it and that the stepmother, is it Christine, had to go. I didn't like that because to me, I get it. And he sits there and he says, "Was my schedule?" It just correlated with every time that her father has needed to step up and he wasn't there. The fact that he couldn't go to that parole meeting, I couldn't do it. I said, no, no, I get it. It's work. But this is like truly, this is like a life and death to a certain degree situation. He works offshores. I get it. But to me, honestly, Christy, like it just felt like it was so symbolic of who he's been throughout Gypsy's life, right? Thank you, Jack. That's what I'm saying. He's not there when she needs him. Sure, stepmother stepped up. I get it. But you know what? It was symbolic to who he is, that the fact that he's not there when she needs him. And let me tell you, it totally like matches up to maybe, don't drag me, I'm gonna say this. Maybe the kind of men that she seeks currently. It is. It is something. He's not been there in every part of her life. Thank you, Sandra. That's what I mean. At one point, do you place blame outside persons who are being manipulated? Who knows how much Dr. Hoping was done as well? Devil's advocate. Gotcha, love. Um, that's a good point. So he can talk to the producers and show up for thank you. So he can talk to the producers but not show up for her in the most important part of her life right now. Right now this is important. Okay? Right now this is important. Like I get it. She was granted parole. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But him not being present was just symbolic of that. I said, dude, like what the fuck? No, it's my work schedule. I get I work offshore. No, 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 no. We know. Okay? We know. But you ain't never been present for this girl's life and you're putting this shit on Dee Dee, who isn't here to really give a statement about anything at this point, correct? Am I wrong? Let me know in the chat. If y'all feel like I'm coming hard on the dad, you let me know. Don't hate me, but hate me. It's okay. All right. He can't go because of work. Everything was about his job. I'm just saying. He was stuck offshore. They would have given him a Zoom contact, something. I just can't, man. Absolutely, these childhood seems a vital part of everything. That's what I would agree with you on that one, Elise. Honestly, so I did feel like um that was, I don't know. It just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and drag me in the comments if you feel like I'm going off, because the last time we reviewed something, somebody, I'm not even gonna lie to you, somebody was defending this man right here, and they said, Rabbit, you are wrong for you're wrong. He's a good man. I said, hell no. I had to bring my co-host for a minute. Everybody's a little bit different. I get it, but to me, thank you. Like a Kevin Frankie. He kind of gives me that Kevin Frankie vibe. All right, I'm just saying. But drag me if I'm wrong. Feel free to do it. All right, no one's gonna block you. So, what was so interesting too, going off a little bit on Dad, is you know Dee Dee throughout the time that she had Gypsy, right? And the family, specifically maternal family, as well as everybody that was around, but maternal family, they knew that Dee Dee was getting into some shit, right? She had these warrants. She was going to get arrested, all this other stuff. A lot of shit was going on with Dee Dee. And they would see her lie. Dee Dee got into an accident, right? Around the time that she was molested by her grandfather. Dee Dee got into an accident that I think she severed like her foot or something, and so then Gypsy had to go and live with the grandfather, and that's where the molestation happened, and that's where they noticed, well, Gypsy does like food, because Dee Dee was telling people that Gypsy doesn't like food. She doesn't eat. Her diet is very special, yada, yada, yada. No, she's eating fresh French fries. She's eating all kinds of food, right? So none of this was a red flag for the family, both for, you know, paternal, but for maternal. Nothing like it was convenient for it was like this. It just felt like it ain't my business. I'm just gonna mind it at this point, right? Like they knew Dee Dee was lying, but they weren't doing anything about it. They knew that Gypsy didn't have all this shit going on, but they weren't gonna do anything about it. It was convenient, and they didn't want to get involved, right? They didn't want to get involved. They didn't care. They said, "No, man, it's not a big deal. Just let her do. I mean, we don't want her around. She's putting Roundup on people's food. Like, we don't want that." But it was convenient for her to, like, she just kept lying and lying, but y'all knew. And eventually all of these lies hurt that little girl, right? But it was okay. So it felt off to me. Easier to look the other way. And the thing is though, Sandra, let me be very clear. Like, I have family, right? Where, you know, I don't get involved in everybody's business, but if there's some red flags, don't you pick up on them and say, I'm gonna be a support one way or another. And thank you. Paying child support doesn't negate all other parental responsibilities. They didn't speak up, but now they want to speak up. Now they want to be in this documentary and talking about, let's help with the confessions of Gypsy Rose. I'm like, that is probably the one thing, because I tell you, when I review documentaries, I really get into them. That was probably the one thing that really got to me. I said, no, no, Linda. Mm-mm. No, no, no. The lies were convenient for everyone to believe. That's what it was. Shmoney. Thank you. Shmoney. Thank you. Gypsy Rose runs, she finds out that her age is wrong, right? At some point. She finds out her age is wrong. I think she found was it her Medicaid card or some shit like that. She finds out she's been told that she's a certain age when really, like, it was a 19 when really she's 23. Something to that effect as far as her age. She was talking to some guy that she met who was like a convicted, you know, something, right? At a is it Visicon or Comic Con or some shit like that. Hey, nonsense. And she starts talking to this guy who starts telling her, you're old enough. You don't need to be doing all this, you don't need to follow your mom's stuff or rules or anything. She starts digging into paperwork and finds this Medicaid card that really, gives her age. She does the math. She figures out her age is what it is, right? So she decides to run. Eventually, Dee Dee finds her through those contacts and brings her back, ties her up into the bed, and there's a lot of abuse that happens. And even then, hearing Gypsy's interaction with Dee Dee, you could tell that, like, there's parts where Gypsy's just very conflicted, and she's still kind of coming to terms with the abuse that she felt, because, she was sharing a bed with mom, she would shower with mom, and so boundaries and privacy, they didn't exist. The girl couldn't even have a tampon or a maxi pad or anything, because truly, her mom would tell her just to use the diapers that she had. Like, there was no breaking of her and her mother. And her mother didn't really want that. Why? The control, all of that. Projection, however you want to see it. So she meets this guy. She decides to run away. They find her at, the guy's place. And Dee Dee brings her back. And then that's when Gypsy kind of starts realizing that, this is going to be harder to break, the control. Jackie, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if something was going on. Because one thing that was evident to me, let me tell you something. When you guys are listening to the different stories, excuse me, not the stories, to Gypsy, to the different versions of everything, and I've seen a lot of Gypsy Rose stuff, okay, before, okay. So Dee Dee, I've never heard of anybody say that Dee Dee has a boyfriend. I've never heard of anybody say that Dee Dee is dating someone while she's taking care of Gypsy. Like I never really heard or read anywhere that Dee Dee um was out there looking for something. You know what I'm saying? Like she was about Gypsy. So much so that that was the obsession at that point, taking care of Gypsy, all these fictitious disorders, all this other stuff that was going on with her, all the medical stuff. She's stealing hospital supplies, she's stealing all kinds of stuff, taking her to this doctor, that doctor, moving away, avoiding all this fraud stuff, right? So, um, hmm, I never really heard about Rod or any of the people that were close to Dee Dee talk about, like, did Dee Dee have a boyfriend while she was raising Gypsy? No. So, Jackie, I kind of wonder, like, it wasn't really said, but it did kind of allude to the fact that there was no boundaries that she put in place. And Gypsy, I mean, she showered with her mom, she slept with her mom. Her mom's like after she had run away the first time, her mom had a knife, okay, right there, and she, you know, threatened Gypsy with it if she were to run away. It's a lot. I'm extremely private about my life. So if I was to be in anything toxic, anybody in my life would genuinely know off the top. Plus, I have a strained relationship with my family, so I don't see them caring. Gotcha, Layla. Thank you for sharing. You can get it on Hulu, but you can order it here on YouTube. I got it through YouTube. That's what I did. Something, yeah, something when she's explaining the situation that happened with Dee Dee, you can hear a weird fondness in her voice about her mom. Yeah, Lisa, I picked up on that too. It was very off-putting, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was any type of like anything with her mother. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. I'm just saying. That's right, Sarah. The mom couldn't date. Maybe the jig would have been up, right? Maybe, maybe. So Gypsy is becoming more and more kind of upset. She's got this computer that she got from like a free nonprofit or whatever, along with everything else that she's received, right? And she starts doing like the dating sites and websites and stuff like that. With Dan, she was really infatuated with Dan. I think she loved Dan at that time, right? Mom decides to put a voodoo hex. She called it a voodoo hex. Now, I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's what they say. Okay. It's a voodoo hex where she took Gypsy's picture, Dan's picture, the guy that she had run away with, put it in the jar, and some menstrual blood. Okay. Put it in a jar, got a cow tongue, because you got to get the cow tongue when you do these hexes and stuff. And then they put it in the jar and they buried it and they put it in the backyard. That's what they did. That's what Dee Dee did. So that was very symbolic, right? Of like, and I was thinking about this because I personally, I don't believe in stuff like that. However, I'm very spiritual, right? And I know that when people put stuff on you, that shit can hold you psychologically, right? So just imagine Dee Dee. Now, this is what Gypsy is alleging, okay? It's what Gypsy is alleging. Rabbit, I can't get past how many professionals look past so much and unnecessarily. Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. We just that that second episode, yes. So this is what Gypsy's saying. Gypsy said that this was a way in which her mom kind of like said to her, "You're never gonna find love. This is never gonna happen. You're not going to find love. It's not gonna happen." So she went out there and printed, Gypsy's picture, Dan's picture, got a cow tongue, got some menstrual blood, and put it in a jar and buried it in the back. And that is supposed to be, she said it was like a voodoo hex. They're from Louisiana. I'm just saying, that's not the first time I've heard. Everybody be doing something different, okay? Everybody does something different. But I think it was psychological because it did impact Gypsy, right? You see it throughout the episodes where Gypsy is mentioning the fact that she can be happy because of what her mom did. If her mama put a mason jar with the cow tongue, period blood, and pictures, yeah. See, Sarah says everybody. She's from Louisiana, so it's a different life. I get it, right? My respects. But to me, it was just symbolic of of the psychological hold that she has. That even after death, Dee Dee still has a psychological hold on Gypsy. That even in now that she's remarried and she's moved on, it's still that. So much so that at one point when Gypsy was engaged, she was engaged to another man by the name of Ken before she, married Ryan, that it was still something that she brought up about the fact that she can't, like, is she going to be happy? And so there, so many fears are holding back, right? That she's holding on to this. And I get it. Um, that right there, I was like, damn, as a parent, y'all better be careful what you say to your kids. Um, because it lives on. And you got to think about what have your parents said to you that still lives on. So it could have been, some of you guys may believe that it's spiritual. I personally felt like it was more of a psychological hold on her so that she would feel like she was never going to be happy ever, no matter what she did. Never. And it wasn't just with that man, it would have been with anybody else afterwards. So I felt that for her. Um, let's see, let's see. Let's see, let's see. Okay. So was interesting. And there was an interesting, let me see. Physical makes correlation between Nick and Dee Dee. All right. So there was a psychiatrist or a psychologist that was in this little show, right? Or this series. And I have found this to be in other people that have given commentary to this, that there's always a correlation between Nick, the man that committed the crime with Gypsy, to Dee Dee. How many of you guys in the chat actually believe that there's a deep correlation or there is a correlation that exists between Nick, the guy that committed the crime with Gypsy, and Dee Dee, mom? That they're like, that was the theme in the episodes that I, especially at like midway, that they felt like there was a correlation between them. This man's controlling, mom was controlling. She goes from, one prison to the next prison. I picked up on like there being this correlation that they were trying to establish. And even though I get it, like there might be a correlation that they're both controlling, that's just one aspect. I find that to be a very dangerous correlation to make because we don't really know a whole lot about, like, if it's just controlling, then that's fine. But I don't know if I could necessarily say that they're one and the same and they're psychopaths because they're so controlling. I struggled with that. There was a psychologist that was making this correlation between Nick and Dee Dee, and I don't know. Not in your opinion. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. So just a thought. Lord have mercy, you guys are still talking about the mason jar. G12's like, I call cap. I think Gypsy's laying in on it thicker. Ooh, G12. G12, there's a lot of people that believe a lot of stuff, and we're going to get into that, okay? You don't know what Dee Dee was threatening others for getting involved. Okay, Alexis J. Just like I said, I understand and agree. I do not know the other side. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. All righty. G12. Okay. Um, so I didn't see that correlation. Here we go. And then so we get to meet Ryan. What you guys think about Ryan? Do y'all like Ryan? We go through these episodes where they describe the crime and everything that happened with Nick, and Nick is, said that he was a 500-year-old vampire by the name of Victor, some shit like that. I mean, it just went into the deep, and I heard that, and then we kind of jumped over right away to Ryan. Let's meet Ryan in the last two episodes. So Ryan is the new, I don't know, like it's the husband. We get to see the last two episodes of the marriage and everything. I personally struggled with that. I struggled with how we went from the murder of Dee Dee with Nick, and then Nick, being incarcerated and all the stuff that's going on, to then here comes Ryan, and Ryan is somebody that she's kept secret. Mm. Chrissy says BDSM is a dominant submissive relationship, which is basically the relationship she had with her mom. Ooh, Chrissy, so you think that that is the relationship? Okay, and then maybe that is the correlation, Chrissy, because then if it's that, and Nick liked BDSM, you think that that is the correlation relationship right there? Controlling? You don't want to see Ryan? Listen, I got my concerns, and I will tell you guys why in a minute, but I have my concerns. You can see the comparison. See, Chrissy, I love that you said that, because that's perfect right there. If there have been any type of essay between Dee Dee and Gypsy, I could definitely see that. But I don't know if any of that has been documented or anything. I think so too, Big. I think Chrissy might be onto something. Yeah, so Nick had this other persona, right? The vampire, who is expecting Gypsy to be submissive. They came up with different ways in which they could do this crime. There was a meeting where it didn't go very well, and it was Dee Dee, Nicholas, and Gypsy. They went to the movies. It was just something was off in that. Um, Nicholas gave a lot of red flags to Gypsy about who he was, said some horrific things, something about how they wanted to have kids and he wanted to take the virginity of their firstborn girl. Like, it's just really putting off stuff. Gypsy didn't quite pick up on that. Um, she broke up with him and then they got back together, right? Let's just say that, Gypsy wasn't really all the way there in terms of how she was picking some of these guys, right? Whatever. That's how it happened. But nonetheless, she did pick him, and they did meet, and they did go out, right? And they, she was running away with them, and they agreed to the murder, right? When the murder happened, they're giving us different things that happened. There was a video where you could see Gypsy kind of going like this to the bed. So she played a role in that as well. Okay. You take that how you want. Then she runs away with Nicholas, and when she runs away, they have like a couple hour standoff in the closet. Doesn't turn herself in right away. Nicholas and Gypsy had used the shared Facebook, talking about I killed that bee, and R the daughter, like various things that led up and different things that were said, right? So I just felt like it was weird to go from that to then jumping on to here's the new husband, Ryan, and Ryan and Ryan. I was like, I don't know about that shit. I don't know about that. It threw me off completely. I wasn't ready for it. I was not. I just wasn't. You think Nick influenced the behavior largely after Dee Dee's demise? You don't know. All right. You don't know about, and you're not the only one who feels that way. There's a lot of people that feel that he needs to have another trial. Um, I mean, I don't know. And the thing is like, you got to understand. We probably, like myself as a viewer, I haven't read the case file. I don't know the ins and outs of every piece of this case. So take for what I don't know. but I'm sure that there's probably more. There are people, that believe that Gypsy has manipulated the situation. I want to get to this clip, and then I want to talk about Ryan, and then I want to talk about how bloggers are being attacked. Okay, let me hit play.
The mother is essentially threatening the.
So let me give you guys some context before I hit play. This is shout out to Hidden True Crime. I'll drop the link here in a minute, but this I really like this channel. I'm kind of like a silent Bush baby watcher. She brings in a lot of professionals. This is a criminal criminal forensic psychologist, and gives a really good breakdown of the psychology behind what happened. So I love that perspective. I'm only going to play a snippet, and you guys please go sub up, because if you want somebody from like a psych background, forensics, this is it right here, and it's educational.
Child, if you don't behave and do exactly as I say, I'm going to withdraw all my attention from you and all my love from you. And then as the child gets older, it becomes even more extreme.
Yep.
The mother says to the child.
So he's explaining attachment. So what he talks about, how Gypsy at one point in the episode said something about the fact that there was a cat that was given more attention that Dee Dee got fixated with, and so she was worried. Gypsy was worried about losing her mother's attention over the cat.
You have to reflect back exactly what I want and what I feel, and not what you feel.
Yes, it is.
And so you go from this insecure attachment to this incredible sense of dependency and to this need for attention. So I think you have these three components in play here. You have attachment issues, you have a huge amount of dependency, and you have a real attention-seeking behavior.
So some of you guys in the chat have been talking about the attention-seeking behavior. All right. Yes. So I love what he said. Is it Dr. John Mathis? I think that's his name, or Mathis. Matthias or Mathis? Matthias. I think that's how you say that. He talks about just the attachment piece and the attention seeking behavior, and how if she was doing it when she was, like, the expectation for her to perform has always been for Gypsy since she was little, right? She's expected to perform when Dee Dee was around. She's expected to, Dee Dee was, clutching her hand to keep quiet and say this, talk this way, watch how you're speaking, that's what Gypsy was doing. She was performing. How do we know that Gypsy's not performing now? Because if, as a child, she's had to get her attention and validation from her mother this way, now she's getting it from the public this way. She's expected to perform. As long as she's not, Cheeks, thank you. As long as she's not performing crimes, we're good. But this piece right here, I said, Lord have mercy, this just hit me right on the money. Y'all want to listen to professionals? This is a good channel.
I'm feeling this. Keep going.
I was feeling
Keep
it
going.
too.
We're with you.
Okay. So
yep.
So now that we've done that, and so I think the cat story then becomes really important, and these ideas become really important. And going back to our question, and by the way, Gypsy Rose also mentions, I forget what episode, but in her Prison Confessions, she mentions that she cares immensely about what the other prisoners think of her.
Yep.
She says for 7 years of her prison sentence, she can't stop worrying about what the prisoners think of her.
And I think that she still cares about what people think about her. Okay. She's a celebrity now, whether y'all accept it or not, whether you think she should have been or what, she is, right? I truly think that people really care about, like, she cares. Come on now. She wants to appease the public. There's a certain persona that people want to see. Y'all remember the movie Chicago? I do. Like even then, that is. I was thinking. I don't know why it came to my not the movie, the play Chicago. I was thinking about, and there was a movie to it. How that kind of like somewhat matched to it. A child star. So she was like, Dee Dee was grooming that from her, right? Do this, do that, talk this way. This is what you say. Dreams really do come true. Like little things like that. They got a free house. She got to meet Hillary Clinton. There was a lot of celebrity that came out of that, right? She's expecting, man.
And that would be consistent, by the way, with these issues I just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
That's this attention-seeking dependency component. So you not only see this at age 5 when the mom's giving attention to the cat, but you also see it in prison when she's age 31. She claims that she's overcome this, but we'll get into this later. But clearly her media tour and all the things she's doing now would best be described as attention seeking, to say the least.
Yep.
Right. So this notion of attention seeking is really important in this case. And she says that. She tells us that in prison, she only cares about what the other prisoners think of her, right? And so that continues from age 5 until whenever.
Yep.
So let's start thinking again about, I asked that question about why doesn't she stand up?
Why doesn't she stand up? One of the questions that everybody, and when we talked about Gypsy Rose about a couple days ago, y'all said she could have got up, she could have left, she could have yada, yada, yada. And I really love what he said here that I said, OMG, this just brought it home for me. Like, people have asked, why doesn't she leave? Why doesn't she go? She could have left. She didn't have to kill her mom. That goes back to that, right? Listen to what he has to say.
And expose this whole ruse when she's singing in front of the American Cancer Society.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
right.
I think we're in a better position to start answering that now.
Okay.
So the question is, we know that she's choosing not to stand up. Right?
She is. She's making a choice despite the coercive control and the abuse, and you've acknowledged that at the beginning. She is making a choice not to stand up.
Right. And so I think if you really delve deeply into Gypsy Rose and her upbringing, and again, I want to be clear that I'm very empathic.
Yep.
That this is clearly a form of abuse. Her mother is narcissistic as one can imagine. Right. And her mother is negating any chance that Gypsy Rose has of developing kind of a solid sense of self.
And let me be very clear. With the psychological whole and spiritual to a certain degree of the mason jar with the period blood and the cow tongue, that is still exerting control to a certain degree. Even though Dee Dee's no longer here, it's still very much right here for this young girl.
Yes.
Young woman.
Because her mother is imposing her notions of selfhood onto her daughter, and she's not letting her daughter have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you think about this singing at the Cancer Society, I think the clear answer to me is the reason she doesn't stand up and expose this whole ruse is because she wants attention.
Ooh.
She wants validation. She, by now, at this point in her life, even though she's an adult, she's 18 years old, she's received so much attention.
Is it possible that she couldn't stand up, she didn't do nothing, it's because she wanted that attention? She's getting it now. She doesn't know anything different. What happens? Like I said, I don't take away from the fact, and neither do these professionals, take away from the fact that she did what she did. Not even Gypsy. Gypsy owns to a certain degree what she did, right? She said she did for time and she's trying to do better. Behavioral conditioning is powerful. Gypsy did not commit murder. She was an accessory, says Julie B. Look, I'm going by what the law defined it as, okay? So again, and if that's the case, that's fine. But the way he framed it right there just resonated and it said, yeah, like if you think back to the cat story, if you think back to everything that she has said, trying to appease her mom and get that attention, mom is gone now. Who else is she trying to appease at this point? Yes, she conspired to commit murder. Thank you so much, Sarah Lynn. And he says, that doesn't sound right. She tried to escape and no one believed her. Well, yes, she tried to escape, okay? I'll give you that, but who, like, once she knew that she was old enough to leave, she came back, right? So was she trying to appease her? Because she said it in the documentary. She said, she convinced me to come back. She was still trying to appease her mother because of the abuse and the control and everything. Keep that in mind, right? You're absolutely right. There was people that did not believe her. But I also feel like a piece of me says that this right here says a lot about what happened to her then and how it looks like in the present time. Mm-hmm.
For being sick.
She
Her mo-
has.
Her mother has received so much attention. So this kind of goes back to the cat story. She doesn't want, even at age 18, when she's singing and getting all this attention, she doesn't want her mother to go back to loving the cat
Right.
more than her.
Right.
And so the short answer is, a big part of Munchausen's is that the parent, so Dee Dee wants to be seen as a wonderful, perfect, heroic parent. She's getting a lot of kudos from the community. She's getting a lot of attention from the community for taking care of such a sickly daughter, right? And so there's this element of, there's a need that Dee Dee is getting fulfilled.
Yep.
Of excellence in parenting, or heroic parenting, or however you want to call it, whatever we want to call it, that she's getting a lot of attention, Dee Dee.
Dee Dee wants attention. Gypsy's getting attention. Dee Dee's getting attention. Gypsy's getting attention. Y'all see that? Attention, attention, attention.
When she wouldn't otherwise get that attention.
Yes.
And the other part of that is that Gypsy's the star of the show. Gypsy's the main attraction. That these two go together. Gypsy has to play that role. So Dee Dee's parading Gypsy around and basically saying to her, look, I'm getting this attention, but so are you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People love you. People are befriending you. People are giving us money. People are really
Giving us a house.
Yeah, they're giving us a house. They're giving us trips to Disneyland.
So are we seeing a little bit of this now with Ryan, the Prince Charming husband, who I have a lot of concerns about? A lot of concerns. I do. I'm just going to say that.
They're giving us, trips to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. She's doing all this stuff. She's traveling all over the country. She's befriending all these people. She's got this isn't a story just about Dee Dee as the heroic parent. This is also a story about Gypsy as the star of the show. Gypsy is the main attraction. And that's what we see at the Cancer Society. It's certainly true that Gypsy was abused, that you can see Gypsy as a hostage.
Yes.
You can see her as a prisoner. You can see her as a captive. And I think a lot of that is accurate. I don't really dispute that. But I think if you dig a little deeper, it's important to see that Dee Dee and Gypsy are creating this ruse together. And
did you all hear that? It's important to see that Dee Dee and Gypsy are creating this ruse together. And this is coming from a criminal psychologist, okay? Just in Evil Queen, children learn what they live, right?
Gypsy says it's fear. Gypsy says the reason she plays along and doesn't stand up is because she's afraid of her mother.
Listen.
The problem with that explanation is simple, which is that in terms of actual threats to her life or fear for her physical safety, Dee Dee's perfectly fine until Gypsy runs away at age 19. There's no physical abuse until age 19.
Oof.
The Gypsy essentially says, my mom was perfectly loving. I mean, she was abusive and she
emotionally and manipulative, abusive,
psychologically,
controlling, but not physically until she was an adult.
Right. There's no fear for her life. So the only way to interpret then, if there's no physical threats or fear for her life physically,
yep,
and there's no physical abuse, then the fear she's talking about goes back to the quote I just read about the cat. Let me read that again. At age 5, Gypsy says about herself at age 5, I knew I could walk, but I only craved her attention. and I was afraid of losing it. That's it right there. She tells us the fear is she's going to lose her mother's attention.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, yep, 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 yep. Yep, look at you guys. All right, all right. See, there's some light bulbs. Drop some light bulbs in the chat. Y'all are seeing what I'm seeing, this parallel stuff. She was conditioned. Y'all, but you guys are seeing that, right? So I couldn't have put it more perfectly than this, criminal psychologist. Shout out to him and what is it? Hidden True Crime. That was beautiful. I said that's it right there, right? So then what we see is a lot of parallels moving forward, right? But you really got to listen to the very beginning, the first episode of what she's saying, and then everything else that played after that. It's true. The same person that loved her put the fear in her, right? I swear I was like, toot toot, light bulb. Light bulb turned on for me when I heard him speak about it. It was beautiful.
She's going to lose. The fear is not that she's going to get killed by her mother.
Mm.
The fear is that her mother's going to withdraw her attention and her love from her and give it to the cat.
There you go.
And so do I think that fear is legitimate? Yeah, absolutely. But
it's all she's ever known. It's a
different kind of fear. And it's if you think about, so for those who have watched I Just Killed My Dad.
So let me stop right there. You guys watch the rest of it on Hidden True Crime. I think one of my mods dropped a link to the channel. Go subscribe. It's a fantastic channel. Fantastic channel. Okay. Oh man, oh man. So that is the problem, in my opinion, with the relationship with Ryan. Okay. Let me see what I wrote, because I wrote a lot of shit on this one because it was just too much. So Ryan is something that stood out to me. I think it was in the second to the last or the last episode. He says, I made a bet with the friend. They're gonna contact, who is it? Tiger King, and then I'm gonna contact Gypsy Rose. They made a bet about who was gonna get in contact with who first, and he got in contact with Gypsy Rose, and that's where the relationship started. Meanwhile, Gypsy was talking to other people while she was still dealing with Ryan. She was still dealing, and I mean, I don't know how much therapy she had in there, but I have every reason, I think everybody has every reason to be concerned about that relationship. Does she deserve to be happy? Absolutely. Yeah, he said it. Yep, he said, y'all see, he said it. He said, well, me and my friend, we made a bet, and he was going to contact Tiger King, and I was going to contact Gypsy Rose from jail, and Gypsy Rose was cheating too at some point. Yeah, Gypsy Rose was cheating. Yes, she was. They've been married for a couple months. They haven't hit their year mark yet. They will this year, I think. Essentially there was a rumor about an annulment. I'm not, she deserves to be happy, but she also deserves to have people around her that are going to be honest with her. And I don't think that that's the guy. I'm sorry. I saw them do like a little online couples matching thing, and I'm sure that they've had a lot of hours to talk to each other and talk about their favorite books and their favorite actresses and movies. What do you mean? She was incarcerated. They're going to have a lot of time to get to know each other. They got married in 2022. But to me, Ryan is a huge red flag. I don't know what it is. Something tells me that he's a huge red flag. He just is. He was fired. He was a special education teacher. He might have gotten a different job, but I think he might be employed currently. Yeah, he was fired at some point, and I think he might get had another job or something like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. Something about Ryan just tells me that it's not going to end good. Just not. And they already had a tiff over the phone. So Gypsy decides. So at one point, Gypsy was engaged to Ken. I think it was in 2019. They broke the engagement. Gypsy talks a little bit about that. Gypsy decides to contact Ken while she's still in the marriage stuff with Ryan. And Ryan gets really upset. And all these calls are recorded, all right? Keep that in mind. They're all recorded and we hear it all out there. And, what was interesting though is that the one call that was not recorded was when Gypsy tells Ryan that he's controlling. Something to that effect was said. So then Gypsy, this is after they had gotten married, she decides to annul the relationship and or the marriage. It just became a huge shit show. It wasn't pretty, right? For that situation. I don't know, but I'm not liking it. And I also feel like Ryan is in it for the reality TV star part. That's what I think. I think he scoped her out. You know what it reminds me of? I used to watch Teen Mom, and Teen Mom used to have like what was her name? Farah. This was back when like they were first before the porno and all that other shit that happened with Farah. Who was the other one? Was it Amber? Amber was the other one. I used to watch Teen Mom. Y'all ever notice in Teen Mom that like especially Amber or these other young women, um, they did a couple of seasons and then suddenly they meet these guys like I think it was Matt. I don't know why he stands out to me, but he just kind of gave me this opportunistic vibe, totally opportunistic. Like he was there for the money, he was there for, the time, the money, the little bit of fame that he got. He was there for greasy Matt. Thank you. You already know. So personally, I feel like he is greasy Ryan. All right? He it's not going to end well. She's not fair. She's the only one I didn't like. Yeah, you see that you do you G12, you see that relationship? See, you got to tell me in the chat. What do you see? Maybe you feel like it's a good relationship. I ain't buying it. I don't like it. I think he's an opportunist. I truly do. He's an opportunist. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. I cannot, for some reason, hold up, let me see G12. So for some reason, when I see them, he looks like a little like a puppy. Oh my God. See? And so all right, and it's funny because you say that, but then I think about Nick, who the man that committed the murder. Think about like I'm trying to figure out how she's picking and why she's picking him, like what qualities. She said that, what's his name was Ryan was the one that made her laugh and he was goofy and yada yada yada. I said, bullshit. This is a man that has been in prison. Excuse me, a woman that's been in prison, and you've been writing her for many. I'm not buying this shit. I'm not buying it. I think that he had been scoping her out for a long time. He knew she was going to be out, and he said, "This is a good time to make some money." Reality TV, right there. Come on now, this shit happens all the time. He probably wrote to the teen moms too. I'm just saying, all right. Wasn't it Greasy Matt who wrote to Amber, Farah, and all the other teen moms before he hooked up with Amber? I'm not buying it. Not buying it. Y'all can buy it, but I'm not buying it. I just don't think, and I hate to say it that way, but it is what it is. It just seems so weird to me. You bet he did. You bet he did. That's what I'm saying. All right, let me move on. Um, it's an interesting docuseries. Would I recommend if you guys want? If you've watched everything Gypsy Rose, you might learn some different things here, especially the prison confessions. That might be a little bit different. It sounds like she also released other things that she never said in the docuseries in the book. If you feel like that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. If it changes your mind, personally, I feel like I've seen enough of the media to kind of sit there and be like, all right, I just wish her the best, and I hope that she truly finds love and that she finds a good place and that she does get her life to normal and that she accepts normalcy because I worry about the attention seeking behavior that she does. I do. I don't like it. Don't like it. Don't like it. Don't like it. Um Yo, no worries, man. I mean, if y'all watch it. All right. Another part that I want to talk about this is so there's been a lot of drama as it pertains to Gypsy Rose. I thought this was an important part to make. I guess there was a blogger by the name of, I don't really know her too well. I start looking at into some of the stuff, and I mean, she says some stuff. Listen, I did want to get a statement from her to hear from her. I'd like to talk to her to hear from her side, but apparently she worked with the Gypsy's family when, like, very very early on, when like she was incarcerated and all that other stuff, when she was engaged to Ken. Okay. And the family has since disowned this blogger. And it's gotten to be a shit show. I mean, this lady is getting, allegedly, this is what the blogger is saying, that she is getting doxxed and harassed and bullied, and all kinds of stuff has been happening to her. I don't know to the extent of what. I went to see a couple, I went to see her coverage on Gypsy Rose. I mean, she really feels like she's got a very tough opinion about Gypsy Rose. And it's not a good one. And she is saying that everybody's scamming. Clicker AKD. I mean, is she, let me know what you. I watched a little bit of fancy stuff, and I really wasn't sure how to like. I know that she cares about the case, but I'm trying to understand. She's very much she's wanting to expose the family now. So she was for the family, and now she's against the family. So I did kind of feel some type of way about it. You said be careful with that rabbit. It's a mess. I believe it looks like a mess. I just figured I wanted to get like an understanding as how you support the family and then you're against the family. What had happened, you know? You said she's the real deal? Ooh, the blogger on the live and the other night with someone from the DC I kind of like. Who? Who are you talking about? Nonsense? Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't know. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. They both did. They did an excellent job. So that's been going on. Oh, that one, girl, that lady's on. That lady's always fighting with somebody. Oh, like I cannot, man. I cannot. I'm just, I stay away. I stay away. But anyway, so there is a lot of drama with that. And I was kind of curious because, with respects to Miss Fancy, she's been on the forefront of it. I'm kind of wondering how you go from like supporting the family to not supporting the family to then turning and then calling people all kinds of like, you know, convicts and guilty, and it was just off. It was a little off-putting in my opinion, but I think maybe she has a different stance to it. I would like to talk to her, but I don't know. Maybe it might happen, it might not. I don't know. G12, thank you so much for the $20, love. Shout out to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But let me know your guys's thoughts. She has much right to add to the shit shows. I don't know, man. I'm watching. I try to stay away because it gets kind of hairy. So she's the one that breaks it, and the media released by. There's been a lot that she said, though. I will have to say that. She may be valid in her complaint, but the method is not my cup of tea. A lot of people have said that too. I don't necessarily agree with everything that she has said, but I do feel like she's talked to the family, so there's value to. She might have some valuable information. Um, I do think Gypsy knew she was going to get some fame because her story is strange and sad, right? You'd love who? Miss Fancy? I've got questions too. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know, man. It's a lot of shit. I was watching. I said, that's a lot. Because the truth started coming out and Gypsy got mad and her stepmom. Yeah, Alexis Jade. A lot of people have said that too. So I would be willing to talk to Miss Fancy if that's what she wants to do. But I get the sense that this is her story and she wants to tell it a certain way. I respect that. And I also get the sense that she's been around for quite some time. So I want to be mindful and careful of that. But I do have questions. That being one of them is you supported the family and now you don't. How's that happen? It does look weird. And then the other blogger lady, personally I feel like she's an opportunist too. That's just how I see it. You'd be watching with popcorn. Oh yeah. She has all the. See, Alexis. You can't. She does have a lot of records. I'll give her that. I'll give her that. I always have something nice to say. Come sit by me. I'm all ears. No talking. You know you can say whatever you want. Come on now. All right, y'all. I will let you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It was just a chill conversation. Ooh, shout out to the new members. Cinnabear, thank you for being a member. Success for you. Thank you. Bella Storm, thank you. And G12, thank you for the $20, my love. Shout out to you. That's what I heard. I heard. I swear, if you have a feeling she will be in reality TV soon. That's how she ended that. She ended that last episode. Gypsy and Ryan did, and I have a feeling that there's going to be some network television show or whatever that's going to happen, and just waiting for it. That's all. And that's why I think Ryan is there. I don't believe it. I don't believe the relationship whatsoever. I call bullshit. This is my email. Who was asking Alexis if you want to email me? You can email me right there. All right, you guys. Thank you, Evo. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. You guys have a great night. Thank you, guys. I will see you guys on the next one. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Bye, guys.